Good morning, everyone.
Welcome to today's Monday morning live subject presentation from Best Days College. We learn and grow together. We are glad to have you connected to today's subject presentation, and we hope you enjoy the section. My name is Bola Ojulala.
My name is Akwali Abike.
My name is Olasen Ido.
And my name is Adina Funlayo.
I will be the one presenting West and presenting government, basic principle of government, the rule of law. The rule of law can be divided as the supremacy of law over everybody in political system. Rule of law is seen as the provision made by the Constitution with emphasis on supremacy of law, equality before the law, and the principles and the present or inclusion of the principle of individual rights. The law should be able to guide everyone and the activities in that particular country. According to Professor ABDC, the political leader entrusted with the affairs of the state should abide by the law and govern the people according to the material made by the Constitution. He maintained that if this is respected, there will be absence of arbitrary government. In addition, powers in government should not be concentrated in the hands of only few individuals. It should be exercised in the hands of different institutions for good governance. Principle of rule of law. The following are the principle of rule of law as propounded by Professor ABDC: principle of impartiality, principle of equality, and principle of individual rights. Some additional features of rule of law are supremacy of law, access to legal facilities, no backdating of laws, fair hearing, and right to appeal. Factors that ensure the enforcement of rule of law are right to appeal, independence of the judiciary, press freedom, democracy, and law. Fundamental human rights. Fundamental human rights are those inalienable or natural rights and privileges enjoyed by the citizens of a given state, which are usually stated in the constitution of that particular country. These are the rights the United Nations called for all member states and governments to incorporate in their constitution. Such rights include the right to life, the right to education, freedom from unlawful detention, freedom from imprisonment, right to security, and freedom from slavery. Reason why fundamental human rights are stated in the Constitution. Easy reference. It is contrary to the UN's directive, protection of human rights and prevention from dictatorship. Liberty. Liberty can be defined as the ability or willingness to do something or the power to do something conceived without the influence or interference from another source. According to the Declaration of the Rights of Man, 1789, the maximum right an individual has is the power to do anything without injuring another. There are two main modern concepts of liberty, which are the individual and freedom. The individual wants to possess his personality through words, thoughts, and actions. Freedom implies the opportunity an individual has to develop him or herself to his potential with some limitation. Civil liberty consists of the right and privilege a state creates to protect for its subjects. These rights include the right to education, religious freedom, the right to seek redress in court, the right to education, and the right to own property. Political liberty is defined as the right which a state shares in its government. Political liberty is recognized by the state, especially when it is entrenched in the Constitution. This right includes the right to vote during election, the right to stand as a candidate during election, the right to criticize the government at periodic election, the right to criticize the government at periodic election. Separation of powers. Separation of powers can be defined as the separation and division of the political powers among the arms of government, which are the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Merits of separation of powers. The merits of separation of powers are freedom and liberty, checks and balance, freedom and liberty, checks and balance, and independence of the judiciary, the merits of separation of powers, factors of region, checks and balance, access to legal entity, and individuals' rights. Political participation is the process whereby individual involve themselves in political activities and the decision making of the country. Factors of political participation: voting during election, demonstration and protesting, supporting a member and protesting for members. Thank you.
And I will be presenting government pressure group. Pressure group is defined as an organized group which influence the government decision socially or economically without necessary entry into election activities for the control of government. Type of pressure group: economic pressure group. These are mostly manufacturers association like chambers of commerce, cocoa farmer union, cotton producer union, professional association. These are groups for professional association. They are Nigeria Medical Association (NMA), Nigeria Bar Association (NBA), Nigeria Union of Teachers (NUT), Nigeria Union of Journalism (NUJ). Educational Education pressure group. These are groups that have to do with lecturer in college and higher institution learning. Students and non-academic staffs are in institutions. Nigerian Labour Congress. All these trade unions in Nigeria are under body. Social pressure group. Social pressure group are generally started for the welfare of their members. Some of these groups are Boys Scouts, Girls Guide, Old Boys Association. Factors that influence pressure group of offering useful suggestion. They offer useful suggestion and advise government at local, state, and national level. Promotion of economic stability. Pressure group made it possible through chambers of commerce, welfare service. Pressure group promotes certain welfare service, e.g. Nigeria Bar Association. Act as a link. They act as an important link between the government and the people. Act as a check. They act as a check against dictatorship. Provision of educational programs. They are seminars, lectures, and debates. Factors that can aid effective operation of pressure group. 1. Large size, dedication and unity, adequate fund, capability of leadership, attitude of government. Factors that can go against the success of pressure group: small size, lack of dedication among members, lack of adequate fund, poor leadership, attitude of government. Techniques employed by the pressure group their main. They highlight problems and special appeals in government. Strike. Pressure group embark strike. Strike is the last option after all reconciliation and strategies have failed. Dialogue. This is a formal discussion between the representative of government and pressure group. Work to rule. No extra work is done apart from the working period. That debate and symposia workshop. These are organized to educate the people on their work and also their stand in some issues. Pose dangers of pose by pressure group. One, political instability, social disorder, misrepresentation, strike action. They are self-centered. Thank you.
I have taken this subject from civic, this topic from civic. Value are the moral principle cherished by people in the society. Type of value: selflessness, honesty, integrity, justice, contentment, discipline, and courage. Selflessness. Selflessness means selflessness Selflessness means showing more interest in another people while fear. Attribute of selflessness. Some of the attributes of selflessness person are giving, focusing on others, time and love. Honesty. Honesty can be defined as Honesty can be defined as state of being truthful and straightforward in whatever one is doing. Attributes of honesty are truthfulness, godliness, courage, and loyalty. Integrity. This is the ability to stick on sound moral principle at all time. Justice can be defined as the state of being of as the state of being fair in handling matters involving individual and group in the society. Contentment is the state of being satisfied and happy with what one has. Discipline means to Discipline can be defined as the state of being control in whatever one is doing. Democracy can be defined as government in which all qualified citizen adults share their supreme power, direct or indirect, through their representative elected. According to Abraham Lincoln, democracy can be defined as government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you.
And I'm presenting commerce, so proprietorship. So proprietorship may be defined as a form of business enterprise owned, financed, and managed by one person with the primary aim of making profit. The sole proprietorship, also popularly referred to as one-man business, is the oldest and most common type of business organization. It is a business unit owned by one person who provides the capital, runs the business, undertakes the risk and profit alone. Characteristic of sole proprietorship: ownership, objective, liability, source of capital, legal entity. Ownership: the business enterprise is owned by one person. Objective: the main objective of one man business is to make profit. Source of capital: the capital required to set up and run the business is provided by the proprietor. Liability: it has unlimited liability. Legal entity: it is not a legal entity because the owner is not separated from the business. Source of capital of a sole proprietorship: personal savings, loans from friends, loans from bank, trade credits, and loans from government. Personal savings: the sole proprietor can obtain capital from his or her previous savings. He or she can use his or her personal income as capital. Loans from friends: he or she can raise capital by borrowing from friends and relatives. Trade credit: he or she can obtain capital by purchasing goods on credit from wholesaler, manufacturer, or supplier. Loans from bank: the sole proprietor can also raise capital by borrowing from financial institutions. This can be in form of loans or overdraft. Loans from government: the government can release capital to its agents in support of certain programs. This is a source of capital for sole proprietorship. Advantages of sole proprietorship:
It involves small capital. It is easy to establish, taking quick decision. It is easy to manage. It requires small operation. It involves small capital. The sole proprietorship require a very small capital to set up. It is easy to establish. The one man business is easy to establish because it involves small capital requirement, and it may not involve more procedure or protocol when setting up the business. It is easy to manage. The sole proprietor can easily manage the operation of the enterprise. Without expert management from outside. It requires more operation. The sole proprietor serve as fragmented market in West Africa. As such, large operation is not needed. Disadvantages of sole proprietorship: problem of continuity, inadequate capital. He or she bears all the risks all alone. It has unlimited liability. It is not a separate legal entity. Problem of continuity: in the event of the death of the owner, the business may also die, especially when there is no successor to take over from him or her. Inadequate capital: sole proprietorship usually face inadequate capital because of the size of the business and the inability of him or her to source funds from outside the business. He or she bears all the risks alone. If the business is successful, he or she rejoices, but when the business fails, he or she suffer everything all alone. It has unlimited liability. In the event of business failure, he or she has to sold her property or assets to pay his or her creditor. It has a not separated legal entity. In law, there is no difference between the owner of sole proprietorship and the business itself. It cannot sue or be sued on its own rights. Reason for the existence of small scale business units: it is easy to establish, small capital requirements, ability to change policy, low level of risk, low overhead cost. It is easy to establish. The small scale business it is easy to establish and set up since no formality are required. Small capital requirement: the small scale business unit require a very small capital to set up. Ability to change policy: the policy can be changed to meet the changing needs of the customer. Low level of risk: the small scale business unit usually involve a very low level of risk. Low overhead cost: the overhead cost in small scale business unit is usually very low. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this Monday morning live presentation from Bestgate College. Thank you for watching and thank you for supporting us. We are looking forward to see you again next week. Have a wonderful day. Bye.